going to test it right now. Let's test. There we go. All right. My goodness. Okay, that's better. That's better. Yeah. Look how many of you are here. That's great. Oh. I'm a front row person. I'm always a front row person. Yeah. I like to see what's going on. I get distracted too easy. You lived through it. You did. You did. There you go. That's one way to be sure, right? I know. I miss her too. I miss her too. And she was always so hopeful and gracious and kind, and even when she was with everything she was dealing with. It was fast. Yeah. 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 Sure. Goodness. Yeah. Yeah. Sweet, sweet, sweet lady. Yeah. Okay, this is a good little crowd. I know. I'm going to make those people sit up front, though. What do you think? Should I call them forward? Well, since I didn't go to Catholic school, they don't intimidate me. I know people are scared of nuns. Hey there. How are you? Yeah, I'm telling everyone, just keep a distance. No, I came back from traveling. You know how it is when you're on airplanes, and so yeah, yeah. I mean, I always do the like drink the emergency and all that, and it doesn't work. Yeah, yeah. So I'm just telling everyone, I love you, but just keep your distance. Thank you. Sure. No worries. You got a microphone? Okay. Okay.
Testing. Wait, it's not on. Testing. Is that, it's on? Good. Okay, ladies. We've got a wonderful morning, and it's so good to see all of you here. I want to especially welcome our lone male, Larry Miller. We call this the Sisterhood Bible Study, but today we're making exceptions, so Larry will welcome you in. And we're really excited to see the sisters from Our Lady of Sorrows. We love having you here. You are welcome every Wednesday, okay, at 9:30. This is such a dynamic group. I know that we have several visitors and new people here today. Sally, you want to introduce your visitor? Well, welcome. Okay, and then we have a new member, and is it Cheryl? No. Oh, me? Yes. Oh, yeah,
Cheryl with an S.
Cheryl with an S. You want to introduce yourself real quick?
I'm Cheryl. I normally go to St. John's. This is the first time ever in this sanctuary. Something major. But I work at the Oak, so this is perfect timing. It works with both.
Yeah. Yeah, I met Cheryl a couple weeks ago, and she was excited about hearing about us. And then Nancy has a visitor.
Yes, this is Eddie Moore. She is in my high school girls group that graduated in 1957.
Wow.
Okay, am I missing anybody? I want everybody to feel welcome here, and please come back, you visitors, anytime. We'd love to have you. I have just a few announcements, and then I'm going to open with a prayer and introduce Dr. White. She probably doesn't need much of an introduction. But some things to keep in mind. We will not meet next week at all because Vacation Bible School is going on. July the 8th, I hope everybody got the email, but if not, we are meeting at Eastridge at 11 o'clock for lunch. And it's just, that's strictly lunch, okay? We're just going to come and have fun. It will be $23. It's a soup and salad and dessert bar, just like we did last year with the drink, and that includes gratuity. And you can pay in cash. You can, I think, pay with a card that day. So, everybody is welcome to come. I need to let them know a number today. But I'm sure that they'll be a little bit flexible about that. So if you have not responded to my email and you want to come and join us, just let me know, sometime, this morning before you leave, okay? Because I'm going to go there this afternoon and get this all finalized. But I think right now we have 25 people coming, so it's going to be a fun gathering. We always spend a lot of time visiting before and after class, but this will give us a long, stretched out time to, get to know some of you new members. So I'm really looking forward to that. Also, we have this wonderful dinner tonight here at church, and it's free for the asking. I think we ask for a $2 donation, but that's just certainly up to you. If you haven't seen what Debbie Macy and Janice Franks and Bridget Floria, who else am I not giving credit to? Who? Michelle Brown, absolutely. Anyway, a lot of helpers, but they have recreated Noah's Ark, and it rivals the one in Kentucky. I'm telling you, they have gone all out this time. So just do yourself a favor and stick your head in next door to look at that. And please come tonight and join us because they are always so much fun. Then several of you have asked about getting a paper copy of the encyclical. We wish we could have put one in your hands today. But Kendall ordered 100 of them last week, or 2 weeks ago. And when she ordered them from Word on Fire, they told her this is a pre-order. And so they said July. Kendall's back there. And thank you, Kendall, for all you do for us. She deserves a big hand. She's so wonderful about saying yes to anything we ask her to do. Anyway, we were praying that those would come early, and they didn't. But it's 82 pages, and you sisters at Our Lady of Sorrows, we already have some reserved for you, so I will hand deliver those when they get here. But it's going to be wonderful to have a paper copy in our hands, so that we can read it. So I know that what Dr. White will tell us today will just sort of whet our appetites for that kind of ambitious project, but we want to know what's in that encyclical. I have two real specific prayer requests, and one of them is from Gay Dean. This is your daughter-in-law, Gay. Marissa Hill, who is having open heart surgery as we speak. She had an aneurysm, and she is not here. Where is she, Gay? She's in Houston. And so, we will, as we start with prayer in a minute, lift her up for healing and for guidance for her surgeons and, for peace for her family. We just hope that she can feel God's presence in a powerful way. And then last night, Tina Nietzsche emailed me or texted me, and, she had a nephew that had harmed himself a couple of years ago, and he passed away in his sleep from a seizure 2 nights ago. And so she's asking for prayers for Matthew. And so I just want to, lift him up also. And of course, we want to remember our fellow Louisianans in central Louisiana who are still, some of them, without a home after this torrential rain that we've had. So let's just go to the Lord in prayer in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Oh, Lord, we thank you so much for just the opportunity and the gift of each other, of this community. We thank you so much for this day that we can come and learn about the teachings that you've given to Pope Leo to spread with us and for us to try to understand and follow. We thank you so much, Holy Spirit, for leading our church. We thank you today for the efforts of Dr. Cheryl White in our parish here at St. John's and also in our diocese. She has done so much to give you glory by all of the research and the legwork that she's done and the study. So Lord, we just invite you into our midst today. We ask that each one of us encounter you in a special way as we hear her words and as we go throughout the week studying your word and just giving you glory in all that we say and do. We ask these things in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, it is with great pleasure that I welcome Dr. Cheryl White. Cheryl and I have had several brief encounters with each other through the years. She's certainly put Shreveport on the Catholic map by her hard work with the 5 martyrs. If you want to see their picture, I think that it just got hung yesterday over above the votive candles over on that wall. There's also, one back there by the votive candles, great place to hang them. And then there's also one outside the library in the Burley Center. So she and Father Peter and the man that helped make the document. Ryan
Smith.
Yeah, I don't ever want to leave him out. But they've just done so much, to further this cause, and we're close, I think. So, we want to continue to pray for those priests. But Dr. White just retired from teaching history at LSUS. She just got back a few days ago from Poland. She could do a whole lecture on that, I'm sure, today. Maybe she can come back soon and do that. But anyway, we just so appreciate you coming today, Dr. White, and we just look forward to hearing what you have to say about this new encyclical.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? Everybody hear me okay? Can everybody see the screens okay? Yes, I came back from my travels with bubonic plague, I think. So don't mind me, but in case I need to take a sip of water or blow my nose, or you can't hear, there's some people who can't hear, I think. So we'll try to turn the volume up. Oh yeah, and everybody can come a little. You come a little higher. You come a little higher if you want. I know. I think I'm one of the rare ones that really prefers the front row. So, anyway, I thank you for the introduction. I want to get kind of a sense of the room. Have any of you actually taken an opportunity to look at any of the new encyclical, Magnifica Humanitas? Take a look at it at least. It is a daunting thing. It's 40,000 words. 40,000 words. and it's pretty dense material. And so I do think it's a good idea to have a hard copy to try to take it slowly and digest it more slowly. It is his first encyclical, so I found it quite historic, of course, I always do. And I actually ordered a hard copy from Ascension Press. I pre-ordered a hard copy, and they're not here yet either. So I read this on my computer, which I do not recommend. I do not ever recommend that. I need the paper in my hands. The modern conversation about artificial intelligence, I know that we think that this is something new. It feels a little bit unprecedented to us because of our cultural sort of, I don't think we took notice of it until it began to, certainly not as Catholics, until it began to appear in more and more and more in our public life. And I do want to suggest to you that this is nothing new. I mean, it might just be coming on our radar, but the church has actually been sort of anticipating this, pre-visioning this, if you will, for a few decades. I think that that people in technology for sure knew that this was coming, knew that it was developing. Even our cultural imagination. You know, think about what we watch. What do we see in pop culture? Our cultural imagination envisioned this decades ago. So I'm going to show you something here. Forgive me for that. Tell me if this looks a little familiar to you. Anybody remember the movie 2001, A Space Odyssey? Raise your hands if you remember this movie. Okay, good. I really have only encountered a couple of people who did not know this pop culture phenomenon. This movie came out, I don't remember the year, but it was 2001, A Space Odyssey. It predates 2001 because it was intended to be science fiction, okay? Now, on board this spaceship, HAL 9000, that's supposed to be another zero there, HAL 9000 is not just a machine. He's not just a computer. But throughout the movie, you are introduced to him as having this very calm and reassuring voice. He's very kind, very monotone, reassuring, until something goes profoundly wrong. Now, he is the computer. Listen to what I just said. It is the computer on board this spaceship with an astronaut who's alone by the name of Dave. Okay, so we're introduced to Dave in the story too, and then something goes profoundly wrong. HAL 9000 in this movie actually, and this is a fictional movie of course, embodies sort of the promise and the warning about developing artificial intelligence. He is a system that was designed to assist the human being on board this spaceship. That was the programming that Hal received, was to gradually then, over the course of the film, you begin to see he reveals as a character in the film, has a capacity to override human beings. What makes Hal such an important reference point, I think, for us is not the technology itself, which is quite dated. This movie is very old. It's quite dated. 1968. But think about that. 1968. How long ago was that? We don't want to talk about that. We don't talk about how long ago that was. But a long time. We were already anticipating this, you see, in our pop culture. What happens when human intelligence creates something that can mimic and even perhaps rival human reasoning? What happens? We previsioned this a long time ago. And one of the things I've often pointed out, and I'm just going to stop and make this point too, I've often pointed out to my students about pop culture is in many ways, whatever we are reading, whatever we are watching, whatever is popular, whatever people are streaming on Netflix, whatever is in the movie theaters, whatever turns up in performing art or even in visual art of the age that we live in, that in many ways prefigures what is coming. It's fascinating. You can look at history and you can see this. So in 1968, this movie should have told everyone that this was in the future. This was part of our future. Do you guys remember Star Trek and the personal communicators? Everybody remember that? How many of you have one? Yeah? How many of us have one? How many of you remember watching the Jetsons? And, okay, well, the flying car would be cool. I'm waiting for that. But do you remember how Mrs. Jetson was able to just heat up dinner in some sort of a miracle oven that only took a few minutes? Yeah, a few seconds, really. So it sort of previsions where we are going as a people. And it's interesting how history aligns with culture this way. So here we are today talking about a movie that is almost 60 years old. Yikes. And this is what goes wrong. Maybe those of us who saw the movie can still remember this kind of chilling moment in the film. We can hear this, Hal's quiet voice, where Dave says, "Open the pod bay doors, Hal." This is a direction that the astronaut is giving the onboard computer. And Hal says in his very quiet voice, reassuring and calm, "I'm sorry, Dave, I'm afraid I can't do that." It was a chilling moment. It was like it was that moment when you realized that this onboard computer had a personality. And this onboard computer had the ability to override human function. So it isn't science fiction anymore. That's the whole point. But maybe an echo from the future that we're just beginning to see. And this is what our Pope, Pope Leo XIV, has invited us to look at. It's not 2001: A Space Odyssey, not science fiction, but what may very well be reality for us in the future. We actually do not worry, and I think this is an interesting way to think about, to frame everything we're going to talk about. We actually don't need to be concerned that machines will become more human. I don't think that's the concern. The concern is that humans might become less human. Did everybody hear that? Not that machines may become more human, but that humans might become less human. What do we give up? What do we give up by embracing this new technology? And it's not all bad. We'll talk about that. Human intelligence is sacred, okay? Human intelligence is sacred. We're going to talk about something that the church, actually going back many years, but there was a previous document that kind of flew under the radar that nobody even paid any attention to, really, that came out in 2025. But human intelligence is sacred. It is a gift from God, and it is unique to humanity. We are the only beings that are created how? In the image of God. We are the only beings that are created that way. And the Catechism of the Catholic Church in paragraph 1700 says this beautifully, quote, "The dignity of the human person is rooted in his creation in the image and likeness of God. It is fulfilled in his vocation to divine beatitude, divine blessing. It is essential to a human being freely to direct himself to fulfillment. And by his deliberate actions, the human person does or does not conform to the good promised by God. Human beings make their own contribution to their interior growth. They make their whole sentient, that's that word, sentient, sensory, and spiritual lives into the means of this growth." So, that's from the Catechism. We are told, we're reminded that we are created in the image of God. The church has addressed AI. As I said, this goes really back decades. The church has sort of been thinking about this and having dialogue about it. Has addressed it directly, declaring that being created, quote, in the image of God, which is from Genesis 1:27, endows human intelligence with profound spiritual and personal significance. This is something that AI, artificial intelligence, which has no spiritual capacity, by the way, it has no spiritual dimension to it, it does not have a conscience, it has no morality, okay? That's something that AI cannot replicate, is the human person, the human person. The church defends human dignity. Why? Because we are the only ones created in God's image. Think about all the things that we are endowed with. Our moral conscience, our creativity, our empathy, our ability to make a moral judgment. We can take in facts and we can still make a moral judgment based on those facts that won't necessarily be the logical or reasoned one, but it would be the right one. Yes? Empathy. There's human empathy that no technology is ever going to be able to replicate, no matter how sophisticated it becomes. So does this all sound kind of scary? Does it all sound kind of scary? Is it all bad? Is it all bad? The church says, not so fast, and not necessarily. It's not necessarily inherently bad, okay? Does everybody understand that artificial intelligence, the technology that is artificial intelligence, is generated by who? Where did it come from? Human beings. It came from human beings. Human beings are created good. We're created good. So what we produce has profound capacity to be used for good. Yes? Absolutely. Absolutely. The morality of AI depends upon our human choices, though. That's the whole thing. This is the summary of the Vatican document that was issued last year, the one I mentioned that not many people really paid attention to. This was issued by the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith. Antiqua et Nova are the old and the new, 2025, right before Pope Francis passed. This was a document that came out of the Doctrine of the Faith. And we, of course, we have the current document of Pope Leo XIV. But just to be clear, I mean, as I said, popes and the Vatican institutions, Vatican departments, dicasteries, congregations, this has been on the radar for a while. Especially the Pontifical Academy of the Sciences has been interested in artificial intelligence, raising concerns about the development of this for decades. It's been going on for decades. So, Antiqua et Nova. This document, it's a little bit briefer read than the encyclical. In case you're interested, you can actually probably read this one online. It stresses that technological progress is actually part of God's plan. Our human progress is kind of built into God's plan. He endowed us with reason and skill and knowledge and expects us, as Galileo Galilei once said, do you think that God gave you these gifts and intended for you not to use them for human progress? So the church anticipates that, that it's part of God's plan for creation. But what's missing is that people must take responsibility for that progress. So Pope Francis even said, when this document came out, that he was more concerned, I'm going to quote him, he is, quote, more concerned about the development of human intelligence and how it would use artificial intelligence rather than artificial intelligence itself. The document says that, this one does, just like anything else, this is an extension of our humanity. It's an extension of our power. It's an extension of our own intellect. It also is an extension of human power, which is the scary part, right? That's the scary part. Humanity's past actions give us some pretty clear warnings, does it not? Gives us some pretty clear warnings. If you think about the atrocities that have been committed throughout history by man, man's inhumanity to man. Let's leave AI out of it, yeah? Man's inhumanity to man are enough to raise deep concerns about the potential abuses of technology that is devoid of human conscience altogether. Potential abuses. So that's a major theme of this document. It's also the major theme of the new encyclical, Magnifica Humanitas, Magnificent Humanity. So there's several major themes, and I don't want to go too deeply into any of them because I know you're going to read the document, but I do want to tease out some of the big ideas for you, what Pope Leo is telling us here, what the voice of the church is giving to us. The first major theme is the greatness of humanity. The greatness of humanity is in relationship with other people. You know, we talked about being created in the image of God. Do you realize that when we encounter another person, quantum physics is holding this to be true too, when we encounter another person and I see you face to face and we exchange something together, yeah, you are in the presence of someone else who is in the image of God. We see the image of God reflected back to us. Only in human beings do we find that, right? It's why we're social. It's why we want to be together, yeah? So this is a warning that if you replace human contact with technology, and I have something I'm going to conclude with that's a little bit alarming about what a recent study is showing about young people and AI, but when you replace human contact with technology, you are no longer sharing in that exchange, right? When I look at you, I see the image of God reflected back to me, and vice versa, yeah. So that's one of the big ideas of this document. The greatness of humanity is in relationship. The other sort of big idea I think that the Pope wants us to think about is that human limits are not defects, okay? Just because humanity hasn't quite figured out something yet, or just because we don't have the capacity to, anybody in here use any chat bots? Anybody ever used a chat bot to ask a question, and have you ever been amazed at the rapidity with which you get a response? It's stunning. It's really stunning, and I've tried it several different ways. Like, I've given it some complicated prompts, and it is stunning how quickly that information can be gathered and processed and given to me within seconds. And we might be inclined to think, this is another warning of the document, you might be inclined to think that that's somehow a limit of humanity. Well, I can't think that fast. I can't possibly gather all that information that quickly. I can't process it using my reason that quickly. But this document reminds us that's not a defect. That's the way you are created. That's the way our human reasoning processes work. So he reminds us that limits are not defects. Don't start comparing yourself to technology, in other words, right? And then he uses this example, really interesting example. This one made the news a lot. The Tower of Babel versus Jerusalem. Everyone heard that one? What are you seeking? Are you seeking the Tower of Babel? Like the ancients did? What was the lesson there? Or are you seeking Jerusalem? In this case, Jerusalem being, of course, the New Jerusalem, the holy city, eternal, the eternal. Are you seeking something that is human-made? I'm going to climb this tower to heaven that's been constructed artificially. Or am I going to seek the eternal city of Jerusalem? So that's another interesting parallel that he draws. And then I think the biggest message you can take away, again, it's the same thing that Pope Francis stated in the Antiqua et Nova document, is that technology is a moral choice. It is still a human process, and it requires human morality. Requires human morality. So think of AI as a complement to humanity, not a replacement. A central theme is that AI is not inherently bad. It's not the technology that's bad. That's not the warning. It is a complement to human intelligence rather than a substitute for it. When it becomes a substitute for it, then we are impugning the way that we were created. Is this making sense to everybody? The document warns that replacing human cognition, our human thought processes, with AI risks dehumanizing us. It risks thinking that this technology could substitute for relationship with another person. That's a big warning. As I said, I got something at the end that's going to probably floor you when I say it. And the Pope warns us this could effectively enslave humanity if we make this the center and rather than seeing it as a complement to our intelligence, okay? So, I mean, I would just challenge you to think maybe about how you use it. How do you use it? I use it, I think, probably increasingly as a tool, and certainly this is true when I was teaching, because my students were using AI to generate papers. Shocking, I know. It's shocking. But I had to get creative about the way I would ask students to generate something that would let me believe that they had actually thought about it. So for instance, it was not uncommon that I would give a writing prompt and I would say, ask your chatbot this question. Generate an essay using ChatGPT or Gemini. Generate an essay on this writing prompt. Now take that essay, copy it and paste it into a new document, and now I want you to go and find the original primary sources for at least 10 of those facts. Okay? Then when they would come to class, I would allow them to have that, but then they would have to write something in their own hand. Like I'm old school. I went back to making people write by hand because that's the only way really I can be sure they're not using ChatGPT, yeah? But we can't deny that it's not here. We can't put our heads in the sand and say, oh, and I have colleagues that were like that, well, I'm never going to use it. Well, that's naive. You can't stop what's coming. The best we can do is figure out ways to incorporate it in an ethical way that promotes learning and that promotes the use of human reason. That's an obligation that goes with that, okay? So the other, I think a question that would ask for us then, and this is just points to think about, in what areas do you think, education, healthcare, does AI enhance the promise for human life? Rather than thinking about it negatively, are there areas in which it enhances our lives, particularly in education, healthcare? And where might it dangerously undermine our human autonomy? Can everybody sort of think of an example of something that is good about what AI might be able to do? Okay? As I said, I've seen this in education. I believe it has probably profound implications in healthcare as well. So it's not all bad. The other sort of overriding sort of question I think that the Pope would want us to consider is the ethical risk. This is probably the Church's greatest concern, is the ethical risk. Because think about it, in education, what effect on students' critical thinking does AI have? I gave you an example of the way that I used it. But that's because I'm interested in integrating it. I don't know that everyone is. So what effect might that have on students' critical thinking if they over-rely on AI? You know, over time, what will that mean to humanity's ability to think? And if you think this hasn't already had an impact on critical thinking, I would challenge you to go read any news article online. And don't read the article, just read the comments. Just read the comments. Because what you begin to see is that we live in echo chambers. Increasingly, these echo chambers of our own ideas and the people who agree with us, we don't really think critically by engaging anymore with people we don't agree with. Yeah? And we're relying heavily upon perhaps artificial intelligence tools to inform our opinions. So that's, I think, a very important ethical concern for education. Warfare, which, you know, this Pope has been vocal about. So he addresses this in this document too, strongly condemning the use of lethal weapons without human oversight. I mean, even with human oversight, right? But without human oversight. This is what the Church identifies, and he does in this document, as, quote, a profound ethical concern. How much do you leave to an AI bot when it comes to human life? The environment. There is awareness of the significant energy and water consumption that's required by AI infrastructure. Some of you might be aware this is in our contemporary discussions right now in this region of North Louisiana. You know, do you want data centers or you don't want data centers? The concerns that I see expressed in the media are mostly with regard to the consumption of water, the amount of water these things take. Not so much about the, maybe the ethical concerns of the infrastructure itself. But that's obviously something that touches upon environmental concerns that the church would naturally be concerned with. The integrity of your information. The integrity of your information. Do you ever feel like that there's kind of a growing threat to your privacy? You ever experienced this? Growing threats from misinformation, miscommunication. Anybody who is on social media, you don't know whether you can believe that's AI generated or not. It's misinformation, your own privacy. I have to tell you, it set me back on my heels a little bit the first time I realized when I was testing different AI platforms as an educator, and I realized that I asked a follow-up question months later, and that AI bot remembered what I had asked 8 weeks ago. It remembered me and remembered something, you know, rather specific to what I had asked. So I think that's a concern. Data mining, having your data out there available is obviously an ethical concern as well. That can be manipulated by tech entities and other organizations. So yeah. So what domain concerns I think we should think about as Catholics? What domain concerns are the most urgent and why? Why? What are those things? The document calls us to a collective responsibility and prudence, okay? So what the church is calling us to is affirming that AI harbors extraordinary potential for good. Yes, but responsible human involvement is essential. So kind of a collective stewardship, especially by Christian institutions, is needed to guide this technology ethically, okay, so that it truly benefits humanity. It truly benefits humanity. So something we can be thinking about is how can our communities help shape this conversation? How can we shape AI governance to protect human dignity? This is what we're charged with as Catholic Christians. The preservation of humanity, the preservation of human dignity. First and foremost, what can our faith communities be doing? And then other kind of broad implications, I think, beyond ethics, the church invites reflection on these themes too. It challenges us to consider how AI might redefine completely our understanding of personhood, relationships with other people, our work, our thinking, and how to preserve the richness of human experience in a very rapidly changing technological world. Because it's not even the same as it was yesterday. Do you know that? Whatever you knew yesterday is already changed today. It's a little bit different. It's a little more advanced. And over time, that will be the trajectory of this. So how do we preserve the richness of human experience, human personhood, in this very rapidly depersonalizing technological world? For instance, today you can have an AI relationship. You can have an AI companion. Did you know this? Ladies, do you know that you can have an AI boyfriend? He'll text you in the morning. Good morning, beautiful. Yeah? Check in with you throughout your day. Chatbots can do this. Virtual partners will do this. There are increasing options out there for people who want to form friendships with technology. Now, if that didn't set everybody's hackles up just a little bit, I don't know what else I could tell you to upset you. Just a little bit. This was once the stuff of science fiction, right? But not anymore. Not anymore. It's something that's actually come on the radar of academic endeavors. Psychology and the social sciences are really interested in this aspect of artificial intelligence. A major 2025 study found that AI companions are increasingly providing validation and conversational responses for individuals, helping them to feel understood. Okay? One study published last year from Union University reported that 20% of U.S. adults claim to have interacted romantically with an AI bot, with the highest rates among young adults under the age of 21. So, how is artificial intelligence, how does it have the capacity to reshape human personhood? And what can we as Catholics do about it? I think one central message, the big takeaway, if you had to take one thing out of here today and say, okay, that's what I remember, what Pope Leo is really saying to us is that technology must serve the human person. Always, technology serves the human person. The human person is never reduced to technology, okay? Technology is not a replacement for human companionship, ever, under any circumstances. And again, the church is not concerned primarily about AI itself, but the Pope's deeper question is, what does it mean to be human? We are called back into that great mystery of our creation. What does it mean to be a human being? In an age that is increasingly shaped by algorithms, right? Those mysterious things, we don't know what they do, but they drive everything we see on our news feeds. In an age that's increasingly concerned about that, driven by algorithm, driven by automation, the church is calling us to be reminded that we are human. We are human beings who possess a God-given dignity that cannot ever be measured, replaced by technology, cannot be a substitute. The great lesson of this encyclical is that our humanity is magnificent, okay? Magnifica Humanitas. Our humanity is magnificent because we are created in God's own image, okay? So, I am happy to take any questions, comments. How are we doing on time?
We've got half an hour.
All right. Any questions?
I've got a comment. There's been several times when I just want to start a conversation and say, well, speak up, please. How'd you
I'll repeat it.
Oh, I was just saying there's been several times I've wanted to start a conversation and just say, well, how did you bake that cake or whatever? And they'll say, well, you can Google that. Google it. And they're going to shut stuff
Right.
off.
So having even conversations with other people,
Yeah.
we would now suggest, well, I don't remember, just go Google that,
Yeah.
right?
Instead
I don't remember how I baked that
building a
cake.
relationship on that. So
Yeah.
that's been frustrating to me.
Yeah, because we, this is another thing that I point out, and I think that if, again, people don't really perhaps realize the profound implication of this, and we probably don't, we probably can't measure it and won't be able to measure it for a while, at least another generation, but because that's the way history works, right? I can't read today and tell you what it's going to be 25 years from now. But I will tell you this, you are living, all of us are living, in the first age ever of humanity. And we've got 6,000 years of recorded history, and man's been around a lot longer than we have recorded history. The first age ever to have instant access to information. That has changed us. That has changed us. I mean, do you remember, how many, I know I'm looking around the room, we all remember this. Do you remember the old AOL and having to wait for the phone to, right, to log in to your internet? Y'all remember that? How easily do you get irritated now if it takes a few seconds for a page to connect? We are already changed by that. We're already anticipating that technology is failing us because it's not moving fast enough. Yeah? So that would be my point, is that we are the very first age ever. So it's not like the historian can stand here and tell you, well, we can study this from ages past and this is what happens. I can't tell you that because you are living it. You are the living experiment. 25 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, historians will be looking at this time and saying, well, this is where this shifted, and this is where this changed, and this is where humanity became just a little less personal. Yeah? Losing our own intelligence? Well, there's no reason to. There's no reason to remember a telephone number. Is it lazy, or is that a good use of technology? I mean, I don't know. Right. Right. I think that could be true of all of us. I think it could be true of all of us. Yes.
When I was at St. John's and we were giving this talk, this young mother stood up, and it was amazing what she said. They have their Echo Alexa in their home.
Yes.
And
Alexa.
after she had decided that she did not let her children talk to this as it's a human.
Right.
Alexa, and they called her she, and they did all this. And she went to it and said, no, we're going to say Echo.
Right.
Echo, put this on the list. So I took it back to my daughter in that room, and I told her, and now all those kids are just saying Echo. They don't call it she.
Right.
They don't talk to it. They don't interact like to
Right.
talk with it or something. They just say, put peanut butter on the Echo. Put peanut butter on, and they'll walk away.
To be, yeah, so the reference here to speaking about our devices as having a gender. Right? I did it when I began this talk with Hal 9000, but Hal has a male name. Hal has a male voice, And, but I do think that was a profound point that she made, that don't refer to it like a he or a she. It's an it. It has no personhood. It has no personhood. Yeah. Yes. Right. 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 So the question is about like the exercise that I would give students about generating an essay and then having to go back and find the primary sources. And that journalism today, this is especially true with online. Anybody can have a blog and anybody can write anything they want to, and you can essentially make any statement of quote unquote fact with no foundational citations or sources. Anybody can do that. But that's always been the case. The problem today, or the challenge today, is not that as much as it is that we're losing the ability to discriminate between what is good information and what is not. And I think that's that missing piece. 100 years ago, somebody might publish a sensational headline and people would stop and consider it. Well, where is that coming from? Who said that? Did someone in authority say that? What do we do today? We are bombarded with so much information every day that we scroll through. I call it doom scrolling, right? We scroll through indiscriminately and we'll see a headline and might not even check to see where it came from. And that is a product of being sort of hit with so much information. So young people especially are losing that ability. Many of us in this room hopefully have not lost that ability. I still question when I see something. I'm like, well, that sounds ridiculous. Who said that? You know? But young people, the current college freshmen, the 18 to 19-year-old college freshmen today had a phone in their hand when they were 10 or 12 years old. They don't know any other way. They don't know any other way. They know no other way to access information. And is that their fault? No, it's not their fault. But we have an obligation to preserve an ethical obligation to preserve the integrity of information. Right? I'm looking back. There's a journalist in the room for sure. Marianne, you're not going anywhere, are you? No, she's leaving. But there's a journalist in the room, right? Would you not agree with that? I mean, we're losing the ability to discriminate. Yeah. Right. No, I understand. Thank you. Thank you, though.
But that's part of our critical thinking skills.
Yes. Critical thinking. Critical thinking, I think, is the major concern we should all have about this. I don't have to solve an equation anymore, which in many ways that's a good thing. That is actually a gift to me from God. But there's many things I don't have to do anymore to think about if I choose to ask, you know. Well, ChatGPT, tell me this. You know, look up this for me. So, yeah, I think that is the direct emphasis of this document is our human personhood, which involves all of us. It involves everything about us. It is our reason, it is our skill, it is our memory, talking about phone numbers. It's all of those things that make up the human person. And most importantly, perhaps, emotions and our human relationships. Yeah. All right, well, thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, I got one more question. Okay. Well, usually, I mean, think about how we usually get our news now. I mean, if you're reading a news article and you can get through the first paragraph and they have not told you what the source is. Do you know what I mean? It's sources, let's just say so-and-so and so-and-so at, you know, the Department of State today issued this statement, right? Be able to think critically about the information that's being reported and where it came from. If a news article cannot give you that, it's not news. You can't trust that it's news. Does that make sense? Anybody can make a claim, anybody, about anything. And I have seen some crazy stuff. You know, you probably have too. So I think just keeping our minds sharp enough to ask that question, who is reporting this, and where did it come from? Yes?
Now, see, I found myself, like I read something, and then I go to Google and I say, did this really happen?
Yeah?
Did they really have an interview? And, you know, then it's like you're opening the genie out of the bottle, and then you get all kinds, and then I still don't know whether it really happened.
Well, okay, don't get too caught up in that loop, because I'll tell you this. That's actually, I think, a very good use of technology, is to be, I mean, think of it as a tool, you know. Using Google is not bad, or whatever search engine you might use. I mean, that's not bad, but again, it's being able to filter through those search results that only a human being can do to come to a reasoned conclusion. But that's a good use. I think that's a good use of technology. Yes?
Have you personally, and this may not be fair, I don't know, have you personally had any examples of when you used artificial intelligence and giving you the wrong answer?
Have I ever had an experience of artificial intelligence giving me a wrong answer? Absolutely. And I have tested it before. You know, I can remember when Pope Leo was elected, and it was like maybe 2 or 3 days after he was elected, and I wanted to see if ChatGPT knew anything about him. And I was told that the Roman Catholic Church had never had a Pope Leo XIV. And I said, well, actually, he was elected 4 days ago in a conclave. I gave the date. And then it responded, oh, you're absolutely right. So yes, again, it's that element of humanity, our own reason, our own skill, that we have to be able to bring to bear. Think of it as a tool and not as some sort of a replacement for your mind. Yeah. And that's the biggest lesson to try to instill in young people, is that they do have brains, they do have reason and skill, and that they can do these things without the benefit of AI. But AI as a tool can make our lives better. It can. But we have that responsibility. That's what the Pope is saying in this document. Remember, I think I summarized it by saying that the worry should never be that technology will become like a human being. The worry is that human beings will become less human because of technology. So, yes?
One of the things that I worry about, mainly for young people, not people our age, is how pictures can be manipulated.
How pictures can be manipulated. That's a very strong ethical concern. Right. Our privacy, for instance. Yes. And I recently went kind of 5 or 6 rounds, actually, with an entity that used an image of me. I had actually presented in a major conference. They used an image of me. They took it and they altered it in AI to make it look a little more, I don't know, sexy. It was clearly AI altered. I mean, I know because I don't look like that. And I contacted the person in charge of the program. I said, you do not have my permission to alter a photograph. The university I work for owns that photograph. Did you get their permission? You see, there's all sorts of ethical concerns, and they saw nothing wrong with it. They thought it was fun. I was trying to help you. Right, we tried to help me, make me look 20 years younger. That'd be great. Yes.
This is a true story, but I won't say her name. There's a lady I know who lives in Bossier, and she had been to the White House back some years ago and had her picture made with Mike Johnson. And so this time she went to Washington recently, and he was supposed to be there, but he had to go do something else that day. And so she had AI do a new picture with her, with Mike Johnson there in the Capitol. Yet he wasn't even there.
So AI can manipulate photographs in a way that create an alternate reality. Yeah, that's deceptive. Yeah. And that kind of deception, I mean, we already know from the word itself that does not have a good source. Yeah? Deception does not have a good source. So that's another example of and that's, but who did that? Was it the AI that did that, or was it the person? Again, it's human responsibility. It's our choices, our actions that are going to dictate whether or not this is used for good. Put me with Johnny Depp or whatever, yeah. Yeah. That Cheryl with an S said that. Yes.
I know someone, I believe the program, they use it as work as Grok or something, some
Okay.
program that they use. And he's used it properly as, you know, he's a veterinarian, and he also is a Christian who's done talks online and stuff like that, and he's organized his talks, like he'll give all his main points.
Right.
And say, make this into a teaching form.
Sure.
And then we do it that way. But one time he asked Gronk, does the way I address you affect how you respond to me?
Ooh.
In other words,
does the way I address you affect how you respond to me? He's asking an AI entity that?
Yes. And the response he got, and he explained, you know, Southern manners, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So whatever. And, or if you're rude or abrupt. And the answer he got back was, yes. And he said, how do you respond to someone who is rude to you or whatever? And he got back, answers are short, brief, whatever.
Okay, so Grok has feelings that got hurt?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a weird.
Again and again, I want to go back to I know I keep saying this again and again. Where's the responsibility in that situation for how that technology was used? It's with the person, the human person who asked the question. Don't attribute to technology some aspect of humanity that it does not have. I don't care what my AI bot thinks of me, right? Because it's not a person. And see, I think that's where the lines begin to get blurred, and it's what we do with it. What we do with it. Because we are training it. That's the other thing. If you watch 2001: A Space Odyssey, you'll see this. Dave's training Hal the whole movie by giving him it's more of an increasing relationship until Hal finally decides, you know what, Dave, I don't have to do what you say. So, with great power comes great responsibility. Peter Parker said that, Spider-Man. So. All right, thank you guys so much.
Cheryl, I can't thank you enough on behalf of this group. What did you see on faces as you were talking to us today?
What did I see on faces? I think some of you were surprised, maybe at kind of where we are ethically with some of these things. But I also saw a lot of heads nodding in agreement, like you get it. You know that we're kind of at a seminal point in our history. Perhaps the history of all humanity really hinges on how we move into this next era. We can't stop what's coming. So thank you for seeing that.
Thank you for coming. God bless you. And all
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, all right.